How has social media influenced Brazilian Zouk? And how has it changed what we like about our dancing or not? Well, let's find out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to ZoukNerds. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how influential has the social media been in our dance community. How has it created trends? How has it shifted priorities in how we learn and how we teach? And also how the future of social dance might depend on some of the things that we need to do right now to bring better and more inclusive content to ourselves and our peers. Join us in this episode to find out how this is affecting our community and our dancing. So, let's go! Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Alisson and Gui, and I'm here today with our amazing co-host Gui Prada. Hello, Gui.
Hello, Alisson. Hello, everybody, and welcome back.
All right, everyone. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about social media. What has social media done to us? Not just in dance, but in our lives, right? Social media nowadays is not only a source of entertainment, but also a source of sometimes news, education, influences, trends, and that, whether we like it or not, influences our dance community. So we're going to be talking about it and discussing what are the things that we believe are good for the community, and we believe that, I wouldn't say bad, but doesn't really guide the community in the best direction. Let's put it very nicely. So I think one of the biggest things that I've seen since the start of social media or even the start of YouTube is really the growth of the community, which is a great positive. The reach that people who are not connected to our community, sometimes they see it because it's recommended to them. And sometimes a friend shares a video and they go like, oh, what is this? What is this thing that you do? I never knew that you do this. But then the other side of social media is also how we see and perceive as the most important thing. What is the real thing that we are trying to achieve here as dancers? So let's dive into this. How about you, Gui? What do you see in this social media realm of goods and bads?
Yeah. Social media today is also became a source of validation. That is something important to recognize, how much sometimes we use our social media engagement or the amount of people that watch our social media, or you see how many people watch someone else's social media to sort of measure sometimes their importance or how big they became or the relevance of their participation in the community. And sometimes using the social media as the metric of how much you matter in the community, I think is one of the dangers that social media offers now. One of the downsides of social media, creating this sometimes real and sometimes unreal perception of how much you matter, how much you are recognized by the community, how much the community likes you or not. So I think this is something that happens, and I have seen people commenting about it with me. I remember back in the day, I don't know, I think it was before the pandemic or a little bit after the pandemic. I don't remember right now, because as we know, the pandemic was a glitch in the matrix. Kind of hard to remember the timeline. But I remember a follower here from DC expressing with me her insecurity about social dancing and about how much people wanted to dance with her or not, based on the fact that she was not on social media enough. Because back in those days, she started associating people who were famous on Instagram as the people who were desired on the floor. And people who are famous on Instagram, not necessarily teachers, social dancers in general. And then she told me, I'm not on Instagram, so people will not want to dance with me. And that was the first time that it clicked that, oh my God, people are making these connections. Connecting. Am I on social media? No. Am I going to be called to dance? No. Oh my God. So creating this anxiety. Have you heard anything like this, Alisson, in your walks? It was here in DC. A follow from here that told me that years ago. Did you hear anything similar to that ever?
I did when, again, during that time after the pandemic, where people felt like because there was a lack of social dancing in their communities or events that they could go to connect to people, they felt like the only way to stay relevant was to post videos of yourself just dancing alone sometimes, or finding a partner to practice with outdoors where it was allowed or safe, and post that on social media. So yes, I heard about it, but I also heard about it even before the pandemic. I think it has been a thing that if you're not posting videos on social media, then are you even alive? Are you part of the community? Sometimes when I'm not very present in my social media and posting things, I find people that are asking me if I'm still dancing, or asking me like, hey, where have you been? I haven't seen videos of your dancing lately. Are you still teaching? Are you still doing it? I'm like, yeah, but I'm really just focused on my local students. So I'm not really traveling and doing events. So I don't have videographers getting paid to video my dances and post on social media. That's something that you get as a benefit of being an artist in an event. You get free exposure in social media. But when you are doing the work, the hard work of building a community and dancing locally, if you don't do it yourself, then nobody else is going to do it for you, which is a lesson that we know. And we have to keep repeating it to ourselves in the mirror. Like, you should be promoting yourself. It's a lesson that I tell myself and I tell everybody who asks me for advice, but I know I'm lacking on that. But I understand that the reason why I'm not spending time on that is because I'm here at ZoukNerds, spending all my time day and night editing all of these episodes. So I am, in a way, very, very present on social media, almost the same or more than other people, but not through my dancing, just through my head and my voice.
It's more of a talking head and less of a dancing body right now.
Exactly.
Hopefully soon will be more the dancing body as well, because we want to see more of your dancing too.
Yeah, I love it. I just, like I'm mentioning here, priorities. My priority is right here, ZoukNerds, being with you guys. So yes, you're not seeing videos of my dancing, but maybe, hopefully, I'll get more efficient in the process of the ZoukNerd situation here, and I'll get more help. And then you'll see more videos of my dancing. Stay tuned.
Yes. And talking about videos of your dancing, one thing that social media brought to the dance world was making the information more broad, more available, and making it easier for you to see other professionals and creating this curiosity to learn from them. Before, back in the day, in order for you to become relevant as a teacher, I think maybe you needed to have your own studio, and then eventually people will know about you, and then eventually they're going to create that awareness that you exist and that you have authority to speak, and people are going to listen to what you're saying. So I think it was a process that took longer. Now with social media, if a video goes viral, if one video goes viral, that person can instantaneously become a teacher and become a traveling instructor. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that social media brought. More teachers, more knowledge, and spread the knowledge that used to be concentrated in the dance studios. So I think that was one good thing.
It's a good thing, but I also see it as a bad thing. Okay, so I think everything has a little bit of good and bad in what we're going to be talking about today. For example, what you're saying about people becoming very famous in a viral way on social media, instead of building their community, building their school, and getting recognition for their work through the community to then become a teacher. So, teaching 200,000 beginner lessons, teaching people from all ages and from all abilities and really making them go from no dance experience to having fun on the dance floor, dancing multiple styles, and even sometimes performing or competing, versus somebody who is really good at dancing and they're really good at training, they're very disciplined, they're very hardworking, and then they get a lot of attention in social media and they become an international teacher. And this is where I see the problem. Are they an international teacher, or are they a really good, internationally famous dancer?
Yes, it makes sense. Yeah, I remember that Jaime used to say something like this. He would say, tell me how many students you have rather than how many classes you taught. He would wanted to know how many students you actually trained from beginning to end. If you're listening, I'm doing air quotes to the end words because we keep going forever. But show me how many students you have, not how famous you are. Né? So I think it relates a lot with what you're saying.
And let me clarify here. I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. Okay, I'm just saying that there is a correlation that somebody who is famous on Instagram because of their dance on Instagram is a great or a famous teacher. They can be, but I think that the social media and the ways that things have developed, we have created different type of artists. So before, like, we didn't really have this famous dancer who become a teacher. It was just a teacher who is a famous teacher because of their famous teachings and their big schools. Now, there's also the people that are great dancers that became teachers, or just great dancers that are teaching, but still have not yet become great teachers, or they have no interest. And that's the thing. I think there's a benefit to that because I know for a fact that the dance community grows when people watch their videos. So I don't want to say that they shouldn't exist. That's not the point here. The point is that we need to be clearer and understand better as people watching the community or educating the people in the community to understand that there are different categories nowadays in the community. Whereas before, a famous person would most likely, almost high 90% would probably be a great teacher because through the classes, through the schools, through recommendation of how well their classes are and how comfortable their social dancing is and how engaged at every event they are, they get more recommendations and get more contracts and they get more tours. Now you can totally skip all of that part and just go into, I have a lot of followers on social media, I get contracts. I have a lot of engagement on social media, I get contracts. I have asked many event organizers, why are you bringing this couple? Why are you bringing this couple? Why are you bringing this couple? And a lot of the times the event organizers, they simply say, because they're the famous couples right now. Have you met them? Have you taken lessons from them? Do you know how good they are as teachers? Oh no, but I mean, they're traveling the world and I need to sell tickets. So it becomes a different type of negotiation. So it's almost like a different business. It's a business of attention, not a business of that social dancing quality. Okay, so you see that in social media. You see influencers who are very famous and they've got sponsorships and they've got money and they've got all of that. But that's a different industry from the people who are specialized in it and the people who have done the other part of the work, which is like more of the study, the research, the experiments, and they have data of why this works and why this doesn't. Yeah, so I think you guys understand being part of this ZoukNerds community, where we're coming from here. So hopefully this is not offensive, but more like explanatory of how we see this.
Yes. As you were saying all these things, I think of the community as an ecosystem where all parts that are moving have a role to play, you know? And I think sometimes it creates a little bit of a discussion of us versus them, or this is very good or this is very bad, so we should put this away. And sometimes something it is very bad and then we should really put this away. Most things, however, they have a role to play in the ecosystem. And I think what we try is to have the ecosystem be more harmonious or as synchronized as possible, understanding that each person is playing a role and then dedicating the amount of brain power to that role as according to what role they are playing. So like Alisson was saying, for example, if the organizer is bringing someone because they are the couple of the moment, maybe their focus, if they're bringing the couple of the moment to sell tickets, what is the focus of that event? Is the excitement to bring this very famous couple and make the joy of the community, like bringing something really exciting for the community? The focus is on the learning. Maybe if the focus is on the learning, maybe go to see that couple first, get to know them, watch them teaching first and see if it's for the learning, for the social dancing. So everything is game, I think. It's more like understanding what is it that we are really doing when we choose to do thing A, B, and C. And when it comes to social media, it's very easy to get fascinated by everything that is happening and make decisions based on the impulse, based on that first impression that comes when we watch a video that was, for example, had thousands of views and thousands of likes, had a high engagement. So then we make that association. Good video, good dancer, good teacher, bring them in. It happens very quickly. So one of the things that we like to share is for us to be patient. And this is one thing that I think Ashley does really well. She sees the thing, she sees the trending thing, but she really wants to know if they're good teachers. So she will find a way to go to an event where they teach, and then they're like, okay, they teach well, let's think about bringing them, and then think about a date. So I like that approach a lot because it's mindful, it's thoughtful, and there is a very specific desire to bring a certain quality to the community. And this is something that I appreciate a lot. And on top of that, something that I wanted to mention too, Alisson, that I think is important for some of us who are not that present on social media, is that word of mouth still exists and is still a powerful thing. I know of people who are not super present on social media, and when you go on their social media, not as many followers, not as many views, but they have such a valuable content to share, and people recognize that value that they seek them out even though they're not strong on social media. So for the people who are coming into the dance, they might not know that they exist because they're not as present on social media. But once they are in, they learn about them, not necessarily because of social media. Social media is going to give them something to see, something to watch them. But even in that case, the word of mouth is more powerful. So that still exists. And that is something that is important for us to keep in mind, that amount of views is not the only measure of success. And I think the most important measure of success for us that decided to teach is the word of mouth, or the impacts that the teaching has, that it gets to other people. And back in the day, that used to be domestically, it used to be national. Nowadays, the word of mouth travels countries. And then we learn about a couple all the way somewhere else doing this amazing work that makes us curious to travel there just to take their course. I did that myself because of word of mouth.
Yes. So the summary here is that we should trust more our friends, our teachers, and the people in the community who have a lot of experience, much more than we trust the algorithm, because we are pretty much slaves of the algorithm when it comes to social media. Why? Because the algorithm wants to give us the sugar high. The algorithm wants to give us the drug. But what we really want, or what we really need in order to become a better dancer or a better community member, is the vegetables, the protein, the food that is home cooked instead of the fast food that tastes amazing, but honestly makes me feel really bad for a few hours. So trust your friends, trust your home cooked stuff, and less the algorithm. Because this is another point that we want to bring to the conversation today, how the community And the dance has changed because of the algorithm, not because of people, because of the algorithm. Okay. So we see way more high impact, high complexity, crazy movements, lifts and tricks and all of those things. We see more and more and more of that. Why? Because the algorithm recognizes that as something more impactful, as something that gets more attention. So then it recommends it more. So then more people see it. So then more people like it. And then it becomes this thing that this is Brazilian Zouk. This is what I'm going to learn. This is what I'm going to do at the social. But then when you actually go to classes, you don't get to do that. When you go to socials, you don't get to do that. When you go to a private lesson, you beg the teacher, why can I not do that? Well, because that's kind of like looking at the Olympics versus looking at your local sports club.
Yes.
Your local sports club is the source of inspiration for me. For me, I want to see the people that are humans achieving stellar achievements and skills instead of looking at the Olympians or the aliens and going like, oh, yes, that's my source of inspiration. For me, I love watching the Olympics because I appreciate the discipline, the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to get to that level. I've competed in international championships before, and to me, it's almost like, look, I know that I'm not even 1% of what you are when I'm watching the Olympics, but I feel connected. I feel connected in the sense of like, wow, you have given up so much of your life, and I can relate to the percentage that I've done in my life, but I can relate, and I love that. Even sometimes I love watching like Whitney Houston's documentary or some mega pop star that is no relationship to what I do, but I feel that pain of the sacrifices. But I understand that this is not what I'm aiming for my dance. This is not what I'm aiming for my community. What I'm aiming for my community is something that includes everybody, that welcomes everybody, and that brings everybody together. So unfortunately, social media has shaped even sometimes the contents of the workshops topics. Like, I'm gonna, be canceled here, but this thing about crazy moves of 2025, crazy spins of 2025, to me, it just sounds like those AI generated YouTube videos. I've been researching a couple of tech things as I do. And in the last few months, I have seen a huge amount of AI generated review channels that I'm not saying that AI is not good. I use AI for pretty much everything. But I'm saying that when I'm getting that information that is auto-generated, not by a person that I trust, by a person that I have connection with, I feel like, this is not what I'm looking for. So then I'll look for smaller YouTube channels, the smaller guy who has a terrible camera, but he's actually grabbing the tech and using it and doing tests in his little bedroom or their little bedroom. And that to me is a more valuable content because it's real, it's human. So, when we get a recommendation by a friend who says, next time you go to São Paulo, go to this school. I know that everybody goes to that school and that's the famous one and you should go there as well. But this guy is going to give you, or this follow, or this leader is going to give you something that you're not going to find anywhere else. That to me is priceless. And that's kind of what we're talking about here in this episode. The algorithm, the social media, how it shapes our opinion, how it shapes what teachers choose to teach, and how it shapes what artists, sometimes event organizers and promoters, choose to hire and promote. And we need to be aware. That's all that is. Awareness. And hopefully, yes. And hopefully with awareness will come some improvement on how the community feeds itself from the social media. Less algorithm, but more conscious choice. I don't know if you guys know this, but for example, on Instagram, there's a function at the top of your feed that you can choose the people who you're following. And I always switch my Instagram for that option because your automatic feed is what Instagram thinks you want to see. So sometimes you're scrolling and you're watching YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, and you barely see things from the people that you follow. But there is a little option, at least on Instagram, that you can choose at the top people that I am following. And I love that because then I actually see all of the people that I love and all of the people that I want to see. But every time you close the app, you open again, it switches back. So it's a little tip there if you want to focus more or give yourself more of the content based on the people that you want to see versus the sugar high that the algorithm is feeding you.
It's a good thing. I didn't know about that. I'm going to start doing that because now that you're saying, I'm realizing, yes, most of the content that is my Instagram feed is not the people that I've found. It may be like the first two, but then it's random stuff. Fascinating. Yeah, I think everything that you're saying, Alisson, connects with, for me, the idea or the concept that I like to share about the power of reference, the incredible power that the reference point has. And when I was learning at the studio, the reference point was the teacher in class for a long time. So the demos, all the demos that I watched were the demos of the class. I went 6 years with just staying in class before I went to my first Congress, before I saw my first Congress-like demo. And then it came the YouTube, and the YouTube videos instantaneously became a new point of reference. And then instantaneously we started to watch the videos on YouTube and try to copy the moves that we didn't see our teachers dancing. And that's the interesting thing. It's such a powerful tool that you look at it, but you don't necessarily understand what was the topic of the class, what was the point of that demo, what is it that they are trying to showcase. The demonstration used to be in the classes just like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, the topic of the class, 30 variations. Now we try. So we would dance after the demo. And then in the YouTube era, Instagram era, the demo is after the class. And then it basically became a showcase that now in the events, all the demos are together in the same room. So everybody is watching. So when the videographer is filming, the impression is, oh, look at all these people.
It's a show. And most of the times I see it and I'm like, are you dancing for the people in the room or are you dancing for the people that are going to watch this on Instagram? 90% of the times, the dancers are dancing for Instagram. They're not dancing for the room.
Indeed. And as an artist, as somebody who is there is this weird pressure in our heads that considers that, oh, this is going to go to Instagram, you know? And sometimes you really want to showcase something specific. However, there is this thing, it's going to Instagram, that it's something switches in your brain and you just do something else, you know? So the nature of the demonstration changed completely, so much that now there are demo trainings. So you have Jack and Jill training, and now we're gonna have demo training because it became an important selling tool. That's how you market yourself. So the nature of the demonstration changed, and that's okay, you know, things change. The thing is, because it became a point of reference, that's what people are watching, and that's where people are trying to imitate consciously or subconsciously. Because subconsciously, I would watch my teachers dance in the social. At the time, that was the reference point, the main reference point, and I would subconsciously do what they were doing. And sometimes I would very consciously watch them and try to mimic them until it became part of my own dance, so I do it my way. So as much as we try to have our own identity and we try to bring the identity of the student out as much as possible, we cannot overlook the power of the reference and the subconscious process of mimicking what you think is nice. So you watch the demo and your brain associates, that's the cool thing to do. That's what I need to do to get more yes when I invite people to dance, to get more recognition from my peers, to get the validation that I want. And guys, when we say validation, we're talking about the basic human needs that everybody has to be accepted by their peers, okay? So this is the power that it has that we don't necessarily comprehend how big it is. And I challenge you who is listening and watching, when you watch a demo, if at any point comes to your mind, I wonder what about this class was. I don't think you do. I just think you watch, cool. Next, cool. Next. And then in this process, like Alisson was saying, the algorithm is making the decisions for us. And there is a highly specialized, incredibly highly paid group of people who design these things to keep us there. So they're going to show you what you think you like. And you indeed like, but the thing is that the more they show you, the more you like that thing. That's how they do with politics. They keep people in their bubbles. They keep people just around the content, and it keeps feeding them. So it becomes harder and harder for them to go to the other content. For example, here in the US, in order to make my algorithm a little crazy, every day I go to CNN and Fox News. CNN and Fox News. And it's fascinating to go on YouTube right after. And it is very interesting to see the kind of videos that the algorithm shows me, because I'm going on CNN and Fox News every day to confuse the algorithm or help the thing show me more things. So that's the power of reference that it's at play here. So when we talk about social media and how that influences things.
And one way that we can put this into perspective of the dance community is to, of course, watch what gives you the sugar high and watch all the things that are crazy and that are like alien-like, as I mentioned before. But also remember, and this is an advice that I give to you, remember those dances that you really enjoyed, that really felt good for yourself in the social with whoever you danced with. And then go on social media and try to find videos that represent that shows that vibe, you might say. But I cannot find them because there's no videos of people dancing chill. Yes, there are. They're hard to find because the algorithm is not recommending them. But there are. And you're most likely going to have to remember the name of the people that dance that way, you know? So you're going to have to find a couple or a partner who normally posts videos of them doing certain things, and they're not really trying to please the algorithm. They're not trying to please the social media. What they're just doing is sharing their journey and sharing their love for dancing. So those are the channels that, you know, Guy was saying that maybe has lower followers, lower views, lower engagement, but that might actually be a good source of inspiration for you to go and seek out. And once you know them, you know how to go back to them. The algorithm is, once again, probably not going to bring them back. But if you go there and you look for them, you get more inspiration that are more valid to your learning and to your own dancing. Or as well, go to weekenders and go to workshops with those teachers and have videos of them that you can go back to and watch. Maybe they have a YouTube channel, maybe they have online classes, maybe they have something, you know, like our behaviors and our likes and dislikes and daily emotions are all influenced by the things that we allow to be part of our life. So there's a famous saying that you're a sum of the 5 people closest to you, right? So if you want to change something in your life, change the people closest to you. I think that's a very valid saying forever, but nowadays, I think social media sometimes takes care of that. Maybe not just social media, but the algorithm itself, the algorithm of your search engine like Google or something like that, your algorithm of your social media or of your news channels, they might actually be the 5 people closest to you. Just think about that. Your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, your news channel, those are the 5 people closest to you that spend probably half of your day with you. They are shaping you. So this is something that we all have to be watching out for, like what Guy is doing, you know, confusing the algorithm. It's fun, but we have to be careful. We really have to be careful because a lot of the times our insecurities are coming from those places, from the places of what we're seeing and what we're watching, and what is not really achievable for somebody who's dancing as a hobby, or not really a great source of inspiration for somebody who wants to dance, to enjoy, and to have a good time, and to actually have dance as a peaceful and enjoyable place instead of a place of like, I can never do this, I'm not good enough, and if I don't spend all of my money in it, I'm not going to get anything out of it. That's not what the dance community is supposed to be, in my opinion.
It's a very valid point that you make, because the association of what you see on social media as the cool dance puts the bar really high on what you need to achieve in order to be successful on the dance floor. And we have certainly seen cases like that of people with their confidence really low because they don't get there, or they try. We see this here with people really trying to get into the advanced courses, auditioning again and again, really wanting to get to the latest stage of our curriculum here at District Zouk is the study groups. And man, the study group has a wait list of people wanting to get there. You know, when the other courses that talks about variations and stuff, we are struggling to get people. So there is like this really intense desire to learn the cool things. I don't think that's only social media related. I think we want to know the cool things. That's fair. But I do think that there is some level of influence that plays. And to be fair as well, we have several students that don't watch social media or Instagram at all. So I know there are the people out there that go do their class, and what they know of the dance is the teacher. So the teacher is still a very important and very powerful reference. It's a very powerful presence. In our classes, for example, we mentioned some names of the artists and people don't know who we are talking about. So they clearly have dance as a hobby, as the thing they do on a Tuesday night. And sometimes they go out in the social dance. So we still have that crowd here in the US and probably around the world.
You know, I have a confession to make. I barely watch dancing videos. If you look at my YouTube, if you look at my Instagram, my algorithm knows me. It doesn't show me dancing.
And I know your algorithm because one day I was at your place and we watched a YouTube video. And when the YouTube video ends, it shows up recommendations of next stuff. And it was almost like I was on my YouTube because the recommendations of all stuff that I watch as well, the same YouTubers. So I found that really cool. No dancing content at all on YouTube.
The only time that I watch dancing, I specifically go and I type what I want to watch, and it's always old stuff. Always old stuff. Last night, I spent about an hour and a half watching a lot of old stuff. So probably if you open my YouTube today, you're going to see some recommendations there, but nothing in the last 10 years. Why? Because I'm always looking for, going back and remembering what was the dance? What did I learn back then? How am I connected to the dance back then and now? Not because the now is not good, but just because I want to remember the roots. I want to remember the feeling that built this community. So anytime that I'm looking for dance content, I'm looking for the old stuff. And I love it because it's so fun to see how different it was. And I suggest you do that. Go like Brazilian Zouk 2010, Brazilian Zouk 2008, Brazilian Zouk 2004, and actually look for the videos that were uploaded back then, because yesterday I was selecting videos that YouTube says uploaded 10 years ago, uploaded 12 years ago. And I was watching those videos and I was just like, I had a big smile on my face because I was seeing my friends, I was seeing myself, I was seeing how things that we do today are inspired by things that we used to do, but the technique has changed, the way we listen to music has changed, the way we feel things have changed, but the root is there. So you can still see today But I think to really, really deeply understand, when you look at the old stuff, you kind of go like, oh, I see the lunges. Oh my God, the lunges were like a workout. Yes. You know, like you bent your knees so much and they were like one of those lunges that you see in a CrossFit video. Just kidding. But, you know, like the cambres. Yesterday we had a class and Guy was in my class when a student was asking, but so hang on, is this a cambre when I do this, and then a chicote when I do this, and then what is this? What is that? What is a cambre? What is a chicote? Bro, if you see old school videos, you're not gonna have that question.
No.
Cambre, the hair touches the floor. Chicote doesn't. That's it. Because when you look at the speed, like you could describe a cambre that has chicote dynamic.
É o chicambre.
But it's so deep. Chicambre. It's the dynamic of a chicote, but it's so low that we call it a cambre. But then you could do a slow cambre that you feel like, oh, but that's the height of a chicote. And that's why yesterday in class I said, look, don't quote me on this because this is not agreed and contested by many Zouk scientists. But the idea is that when you look at the old videos, you see, oh, the cambre is really this feeling of like the back extension, making a bridge. And then the chicote is the feeling of the energy of the redirection or many other things that we can talk about, which is not the topic of today. But it's just a reference of how looking at the old stuff makes me understand and even want to study more the things that we do today so I can then deliver and explain to my students and give them good answers that will make sense and make it more natural in their dance instead of thinking about, okay, if I do this angle is cambre, if I do this angle is chicote, and they are completely different. Because honestly, I think if we put 10 teachers in a room and show the exact movement, a few of them are going to say it's a cambre, a few of them are going to say it's a chicote, a few of them are going to say it's an undulation, a fast undulation. Or some of them will even have a different name for it. So don't be stuck with the names, please, but understand the root, understand the feeling in the body, the dynamic, and have fun. Just that's it. Have fun.
That reminds me of two things. One is about music. I'm going to take a little detour here real quick. But one time somebody asked Kaisha, what do you play? Zouk or Kizomba or Tarraxa? What is it that you were singing? And then he said, I would look to what people were dancing. If I'm singing, people are dancing Brazilian Zouk, I'm singing Brazilian Zouk. If people are dancing Kizomba, I'm singing Kizomba. Same song. But it depends on people. So I think he got to a point that it doesn't matter anymore, you know? And that was something that my contact improv teacher says that, because Kaisha has been around for a long time. And then he says, older artists, people who have been in the field for a long time, they got rid of this desire to prove themselves or to be right, you know? They just want to chill, you know? So like Alisson was saying, cambre, chicote, and then our beautiful Hermela, she said, it's an unlock, you know? Like, an unlock, a chicote, a cambre, chicambre, chicote. In the end of the day, your body is doing this motion that your chest opens and it's creating an effect and bringing a feeling to your body. Good to go, let's go. You know, we give a name for teaching purposes. We give a name for didactics. In the end of the day, when we're social dancing out in the jungle, does really matter if it's a chicote or cambre, you know? Does really matter if it's Zouk or Kizomba, you know? I think that's something that was really interesting that Kaisha said, or Keisha, I think it's Keisha. And the second thing is when you were talking about watching old videos, when I was searching references for the history of Lambada, I watched a video from João Lambadeiro, which is a legendary character of Lambada in the early days. He's still alive, of course. He lives in Porto Seguro. Today, he's a real estate agent. And he was telling about how the bigger movements in Lambada were born. And he was talking that because he went to the stage, because they needed to showcase it more, they created movements so the dance becomes bigger. And I think that is something that still happens today, maybe with not that much awareness, but the moments that a demo becomes a show, you gotta showcase it. So you make the dance bigger, you make the dance more, just wider, taking more space and everything. And then people watching lambada on the stage during a Calma show and watching that dance and think, oh, that's lambada. The dance of the show, the dance of the stage, that's lambada. But then they go to the social and lambada people are on the spot just ding, 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 ding. But then over time, the dance of the stage went to the floor and then became the dance. And I think something similar happens, but the stage today is not the actual stage. The stage today is your cell phone and your computer screen. That's the stage. And you're watching people dance on the stage a lot, and then you are watching a modified version of the social dance that is purposefully bigger to make it more visual, more interesting. But then you watch that same person dancing on the floor and they are shifting weight on the spot. And then you're like, is this the same dancer? So we actually make fun of some of them. I'm not going to say names, but there are some of them that when you watch them social dancing and you watch them doing the demo, you really wonder how that became that and how that became this. You're like, what is happening? So just something interesting to keep in mind that this happens in the history of lambada. The needs of the stage driving the way people social dance. And now this happens as well in the needs of social media. Like we said before, there are going to be demo trainings in the future for professionals, so there is a need to perform in the demo. And then that will sprinkle on the dance floor, already does. Yeah. And I think like we said right in the beginning, it's just a matter of awareness. There's nothing wrong with it, necessarily wrong. It's just being aware that it's happening and that can happen. And us, me, Alisson, and all the teachers, the role that we play in it as reference points. Yeah, because sometimes we become attached to engagement. We get literally like really sad or really happy, depending on how much engagement a video had. And I know that sometimes people measure their success by the amount of engagement they have in their videos. And I have friends who struggle when their engagement decreases. So sometimes we need to fight these forces, row against a perceived tide that exists so we can really showcase a content that we believe is important to the community, because there is this paradox that happens at times that we have something that we find important to share, but that thing doesn't get as much engagement as this other thing we know people like. So we end up showcasing more the thing we know people like and less of the thing we really want to share because of less engagement, So just like an invitation for us to think about that. And we could talk so much more about this. We could have 2 more episodes about this. But I will stop right here now. So I wanted to mention these things because I remember the video that I watched from João Lambadeiro talking about how certain movements came to be.
No, I think this was a great summary and a great conclusion to this episode, and bringing some references from the old school to actually connect all of that we talked about, the new stuff, the stuff that has influenced us over the years, but to also understand that it's not just now. It's being part of the dance community forever. But unfortunately, nowadays it's worse because we are not making our own decisions. The algorithm is. So we just need to be careful. We need to be aware, and we need to try and take more control over what is influencing our opinion. And I'm just talking about the dance community here. I'm not going to get into politics or anything like that. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. And we once again thank you for being here. Please connect with us in our personal social medias or also in our channels on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and all of the things. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. So, thank you. Beijos, abraços, and ciao.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.